So what I just wanted to do very briefly today is talk a little bit about the new features of Mahara 1604 and give you the opportunity to ask questions or make comments on what you think of some of that functionality that we have there. So we did still release Mahara 1604 at the end of April, so that's why it's still called 1604. It was very close this time because it was a very busy time, also with a very with an urgent security update right before then. But it is out now, and we are really happy about this release. Although it is very small, I think it is a very important one because it does take us further into the further towards being even more mobile friendly than just having a responsive theme, as you will see in a little bit. Now that we have released Mahara 1604, it also means that Mahara 1.10 is out of support. So the currently officially supported versions are Mahara 1504, 1510, and 1604. And the support for Mahara 1504 and 1604 both runs out in October next year, whereas the one for Mahara 1510 is going to run out in April. So if you're in any of those versions, you are still very good for quite some time, and but can already think about moving to 1604 if that were not in the cards for you immediately, or if you are just thinking whether to stay on an older version or not. One of the biggest changes we've made, thanks to the Zurich University of Applied Sciences, is that we are now Flash without Flash, as I call it. We are still fancy, but we don't rely on Adobe Flash anymore for displaying videos. We still have a tiny bit of Flash code in Mahara that is for the copy button for the secret URLs. But we are definitely keeping our eye on replacing that as well. Currently, it is not possible because Safari does not support a non-Flash version, and therefore we are just holding out a little bit. But what does this mean for you? Well, if you kind of look at a Mahara page that you already created and have videos in them, it does not change anything for you. You do not have to convert anything or so. All we did was replace the media player that displays your videos or your audios that you can embed directly into Mahara from your internal storage. And so the supported formats for that HTML5 player are MP4, MP3, OGA, and OGB. So MP4 and OGB are video formats. The latter one is an open source one, and MP3 and OGA are audio formats. And by using any of these formats, you can easily use the built-in player other formats require that a player is installed on the student's or faculty's computer so that they can display videos. The best compatibility with mobile devices is by using MP4 and MP3, because then also iPads and Android and other mobile apps and devices can display those formats, can work with them, and have all those available. The other thing we did by making a change to the HTML5 player is also that we got rid of the dimensions on the video, the default dimensions, which allows us to scale the video to the width of the block and also scale it properly when the size is reduced when you go to a mobile device. So that's one of the bigger changes and an important one, because up to now it was not possible to play any internal videos on a mobile device simply because we depended on Flash, and now that has been rectified. Another nice improvement that we've made, I find, is the easier tagging functionality. So in the past, you always had, if you had a lot of tags, you saw this long list of tags and had to go through them. But now we are using the Select To functionality like we have elsewhere in Mahara already. Namely, when you search for people wanting to send them a message, and also for tagged journal entries in that blog, we already use that functionality, so it made a lot of sense to also use it for tags in general. So all you need to do now is start typing a letter or a word, and then the suggestions come up, and if there's no word for that yet, it will be added to your tags. We've also implemented the, oops, sorry, that's the wrong one. We also implemented the Open Badges Displayer plugin that Descendum OI had created. And that allows you now, without having to install a plugin, to display any of your badges that come from the Mozilla Backpack and also from the Open Badge Passport. So it is entirely up to you where you want to store your badges. Even if you choose another backpack, for example, if your university or school set up their own backpack, then you could configure it to be displayed as well. That's that's a server configuration, but many more backpacks can be added to it. And so any badges earned in your LMS or elsewhere can now easily displayed just in core Mahara. We also expanded our notification system because in the past we did not get any notification when somebody wrote something on a wall, but now that is also being sent via email thanks to Switch in Switzerland. So again, furthering the engagement of people when they leave messages, making it easier for you to see them. And we've also changed our ratings, so comment rating systems. In the past, you only had the star available, and it had to be a five-star rating at maximum. Now you can choose between 1 and 12 stars, or you can even form the star into a heart, a thumb, or a check mark. And you can also choose the colors that you want to use for them. It's not like that a student or a teacher can choose which icon to use. It's still one icon for all, but at least you do have some flexibility as site administrator to decide what fits best into your environment and what you want to make your users available. If I remember correctly, a number of you do use the Embed Lee plugin to allow students to embed from many different resources online. Because while we have the allowed iframe sources available, that always requires a site administrator to allow a specific site through. Whereas if a site that has an embed code is enabled through Embed Lee, or Embed Lee provides its Embed Lee embed code for it, then the students can easily enter that and work with it. So making or giving more possibilities for embedding external content. And if you remember, in Mahara 15.10, we implemented the journals on all levels in Mahara, so that you now also have group journals, site journals, and institution journals besides individual journals. And so in this release, we expanded that functionality by also making the recent journal entries block available throughout. So you also put that into group, site, or institution pages. One nice thing that most of you will probably not really see, but is very interesting for everyone who does development work on Mahara, and some of you do have your own developers on site, is the style guide. Because what the style guide does is it shows us what common elements that are being used in Mahara look like, and what a developer should use when they create functionality that uses those elements. So that way we get consistency across buttons, consistency across sidebars, and many other elements, also like tables or navigation items, drop-downs, without somebody needing to know in which part of Mahara these things can actually be found. So they have one-stop shop to look all those things up. And the really cool thing I find is that you can look at the style guide in any theme that is currently the site theme. So you don't just see it what it looks like in the default theme, but you can also, if you're using the Ocean theme, see directly what the style looks in Ocean and then in Modern. And if you have your own theme, you'll also see it directly in your theme, and therefore can get more consistency across everything. So these were but a few of the new Mahara 1604 features. There are a few others, smaller ones, and those that are of interest in particular for system administrators, and some config setting changes. And all of them, as usual, are described in the Mahara user manual at manual.mahara.org, and they can easily be found by following the trail of our bot, or if you want to have a quick overview, you can also go to the index and search for the index entry new in Mahara 1604. And that's it from me. Do you have any questions?